Hi everyone, my name is Alan Lam. I'm a graphic designer. I like to use my skills with visual art to solve problems and to help my clients to meet their advertising and marketing goals. I also enjoy original logos for companies both big and small. I also like to create analog art and digital artwork in my spare time. Takashi Murakami. With this presentation, I'll be going over a few things. Here is the main points. Introduction, who he is, what is his style, how is it made, his influence, process and work, crossover and collab, and my own work, and the summary. Who is Takashi Murakami? Murakami was born on February 1st, 1962, in Tokyo, Japan. He is a Japanese artist and entrepreneur, renowned for his ability to adapt to the aesthetics of Japanese tradition art to the context of popular culture. Murakami's traditional Japanese art training led him to notice similarities between the Japanese painting and the anime and manga. His style, which focuses on two-dimension forms and vibrant imageries, gives to the superflat a movement that celebrates the intersection of commercial and the art world. Takashi Murakami is a famous Japanese artist known for his bright colors and his cheerful work. He merges Japanese pop culture with this country's rich artistic legacy, and it's compared to Andy Warhol and his art as business approach. Murakami grew up hearing his mother saying if the US just had dropped another nuclear bomb to Japan, he wouldn't have been born. The ominous presence to the versions as this subsequently in the US presents in Japan the decades following World War II had a huge impact on Kuramori's artistic development. Murakami's work, which is distinguished by hard edge, larger flat color, and often intricate detail, is primarily created with Adobe Illustrator, a vector drawing program adapted early in the artist's career due to its ability to replicate graphic qualities of his extending painting style. This pre-digital practice, which he gave rise to enduring creation, such as grinding a mouse-like creature, Mr. Dog, shown on the right, in the earlier work Castles of Tintin in 1998, manifests a static result of a gradual convergence of interests such as traditional Japanese Nihonga paintings and the Tokyo's manga and anime love hataku scene. Did you know Mr. Dob is Murakami's alter ego in his work? Part of his conceptual idea, Murakami argues that the Japanese artist often overlooks World War II's horror and the post-war occupation humiliation, allowing hataku to transform them into cartoon fantasies. This flattening process frees the artist and the viewers from the grappling with Japan's wartime experience and the post-war status of the US economic rival. Manipulating the material, Takashi Murakami conceives an idea in which then he developed by his computer team into a digital image. The image then gets printed and transferred into a canvas using a screen printing. The final step is to check the color for accuracy of his painting, which is extremely important to Murakami due to his extensive use of color in his work. The number of people involved in this process varies depending on the size of the project. Here are some more photos of showing him in the process of building a project. First, on the left, it's him giving direction to his computer team. In the middle there, you see him barefooted, of course. It's him giving directions for his teams to follow. And on the very right, you see one of his teams painting and adding color to the giant statue. And you're wondering, yes, he loves to do art in his bare feet. He feels that it's part of his process and he could feel the energy that's seeping through the floors. And this is his process of putting a show together. Of course, before he had a team, he had to do all this by himself. Now let me show you some of his work. These three are my favorite piece of his artwork. Starting with this work called Poke. This piece was made in 1999, features Mr. Dog, his alter ego, this iconic character from this artist's universe, as well as the alien creatures which resembles mushrooms with many eyes. The eyes of these mushrooms are also featured in other work by him, such as jellyfish eyes. Poke, its offset lithograph, measures 50 by 50 centimeters and is part of the limited edition 300 sign number piece. On the upper right, you see Poke in its lithograph form, and on the bottom left, you see that same image together in a statue. And when I talked about the other jellyfish work, you see the eyes in back of that. The second piece is Murakami's Golden Age series. Heiko Takashi, roughly translated as Stay Home Prosperous. I'm particularly fond of this series because it shows the intersection of Murakami's formal training as a Nihongu, a painting style that emphasizes in traditional Japanese technique and subject matter, and his signature smiling daisy. The series is both beautiful and playful, and I believe it is the best representation of Murakami's signature style. Here I show the series on the right of all 5 art pieces, but my favorite is the one on the left, the one in the middle. It is the golden hour. As you see, the light just twinkles in the back. Out on the river, you see the reflection of this golden hour light bouncing off of it, and how playful each of the flower is in front of that golden hour. Each of them shine brightly, and it often makes any spectator just stop and gaze at the beauty of his work, both traditional Japanese mixed with Murakami's colorful and playful style. This piece is one of my favorites. Finally, Tantanbo Puking, aka Geru Dan, made in 2002. Acrylics on canvas mounted on board. It's one of my favorite paintings. Tantanbo, it's a monster like that is printed with his huge face shooting out colorful mucus from grasping black mouth, has been viewed as a symbol of Murakami's personal feeling over nuclear power expanding development. It invokes memories of the classic Godzilla films that I used to watch as a kid with my younger brother. Both terrifying, yet there is some beauty to it. With all this diverse bright color that pops off each of the surfaces, it makes a viewer want to look closely to see what each of these items are. Especially, did you notice there are flowers on the ground? What about on the sky? What else do you see? Murakami's work is so good, so many little detail, Little stuff you don't notice unless you look up close or just stare at it for hours. There are numbers of wonderful little detail, little object, funny little knickknacks. Similar to my own style of artwork, I too like to put knickknacks in my own work. It's all about you, the one who knows. That's why Takashi is so famous with all his artwork. Takashi has checked off many of the boxes in most pop artists in his clientele, including fashion titans such as Louis Vuitton, Vogue, legendary musicians such as Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, Billie Eilish, and Britney Spears, and some of the world's most desirable apparel, including Supreme, Comb, Disgracon, Vans, Visism, and many more. Here are some more photos. On the left with a watch icon, Herbalife, which they make fancy watches. Of course, the middle is Billie Eilish. On the top, that is Pharrell Williams. And on the bottom, him with many other different artists in displays for many big companies. His crossover and collaboration is the same in his hometown of Japan, where he's collaborated with many different local brands in anime companies, for a few just such as Sanrio, which they do the Hello Kitties, Fujiko F. Fujo, which is the author of the popular 1970s manga Doraemon, which you see is the cat on the very bottom with no ears. It's many kids that grew up favorite anime and manga because it was one of the first to depict a simple funny cat that helps kids to learn about everyday things. Similar to Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood that we had in America. Murakami is a charitable supporter as well, who has handled careers of several young artists and hosts a biannual art fair called Jinsai. Jinsai is a large biannual art show that takes place in Tokyo. It is an art show that's designed to allow young artists to show off their work for a small fee. There have been over 21 Jinsai art shows thus far, and many of the young upcoming artists has benefited quite a bit from his show due to the publicity that they receive for being in the Jinsai. My artwork's undoubtedly inspired by Murakami. I strive to emulate his super flat style in my own artwork. I began with a sketch in my sketchbook. In my sketches, I have adapted the aesthetic of Japan's traditional art to the context of popular culture. So I decided to depict a traditional geisha holding a set of dango, a traditional Japanese snack which is made from mochi on a stick that can be eaten sweet or savory. Usually comes in a set of 3s and can be enjoyed anytime. I decided to use Mount Fuji as the background, but not in the traditional color, rather than pink and purple, to represent Japan's rebirth after the war. On both left and right side of the geisha are all my favorite characters from Murakami's art throughout the years, including the smiley daisies, the skull, Mr. Doe, and the jellyfish eyes. I attempt to create a fusion of both traditional Japanese woodblock art style with the simple lines and the flat paints, and the characters from Murakami, which are simple yet extremely colorful and playful, to show my appreciation for his art. So my process is, after the sketches, I begin to erase most of the heavy pencil marks, leaving only light pencil mark lines to give a simple outline. Then I use a simple Sharpie to go over the pencil mark, which gave me a set of lines to paint within. I then use a watercolor paint for the background sky, and the moon. And the geisha's face, also her kimono. Then I switched medium using alcohol markers to color some of the skulls in to give it that vivid, bright look to them. Finally, I switched medium once again to finish off the skulls and the jellyfish eye to give it a different texture. Once the painting was dry and complete, I used a set of black markers to outline each of the images in black, which gives it a sharp, super flat look, in which mimics Murakami's work. In conclusion, I am most impressed about the multifactorial nature of Takashi Murakami's, a well-known controversial and influential artist of our time. Over the course of his extraordinary 30-year career, his work has been exhibited in world's most renowned galleries, and his partner with the biggest name in music, fashion, and he has inspired modern art movement with his distinctive super flat style. He's not only a gifted artist, but a culture entrepreneur. I hope one day my art will at least be somewhat as famous as he is. I might not get to his status or level, but I sure would love to try. I want to thank you for watching this presentation. My name is Alan Lam. You can always find me at nightdls@weebly.com or Instagram under nightdls. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.